Hi everyone. So today we're going to be talking about another basic concept in economics, which is called the factors of production. So the factors of production are the productive resources used to produce goods and services. Or the way I like to think of it, it's the stuff you need to make more stuff. So you're going to add this term, factors of production, and the definitions to your notes. So by the way, if you see it in hot pink, that means you're going to add it to your notes in case I forget to say that. So these factors of production, are grouped into four categories: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Now, the first three have their own special second names. So land is also known as natural resources, labor is known as human resources, and then capital is known as capital resources. That's an easy one to remember. Entrepreneurship does not get a fancy second name. So let's go through them one by one. So natural resources, or land, are the raw materials supplied in nature necessary to produce goods and services. So for example, if you're baking a cake, you're going to need lots of different materials that are found in nature. You're going to need wheat, you're going to need sugar, you're going to need eggs, etc., 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 all of which came from nature. However, those natural resources do not automatically assemble themselves into a cake, do they? To do that, you're going to need human resources, also known as labor. And that is known as the human effort used to produce goods and services. So just a reminder, you should be adding those pink terms to your notes. So labor can be physical or mental. So for example, somebody needed to harvest that wheat that you're using. Some more people needed to refine that wheat into flour. Otherwise, you'd have a whole wheat cake, which would be really gross. And then, of course, someone used their hands, perhaps you, to bake the cake, right? So all that's physical labor, people using their hands, using their bodies to produce this resource, right? However, somebody also needed to come up with the recipe for the cake. That would be mental labor, right? You're not using your hands, you're using your mind to come up or to produce this human resource, right? Next up is capital resources. And these are the man-made tools, equipment, buildings, and other various things used to used to produce a good or service. So, for example, keeping with the cake, that truck that was used to drive all those ingredients to the bakery, that's man-made, so that would be a capital resource. The oven that was used to bake the cake, that's a capital resource. And the building where the cake was made, so that bakery, that is a capital resource as well. So all these things in this list, these are all man-made, which makes them capital. Now, just to make things a little bit more complicated, and you don't need to write this down, but you might want to keep it in mind for future reference, there's actually two types of capital. So everything we just mentioned, the building, the truck, the oven, those are all known as physical capital. So those are physical man-made objects used to produce a good or service, right? But there's also something called financial capital. So you can't start a bakery if you don't have any money, right? You need money to start your bakery. You're going to need to go to the bank and get a loan. So financial capital are the funds that the firm, which is a fancy word for business, use to purchase that physical capital, right? So if you're starting a bakery, you'll get your loan from the bank, you'll buy your oven, you'll rent your building, you'll buy your truck, etc., etc. All right. Now, the last factor of production that we're going to talk about is entrepreneurship. And this is the factor of production that ties all of those other ones, land, labor, and capital, together. So add this definition to your notes. Entrepreneurship is the activity of setting up a new business or venture, taking on financial risks in the hope of profit. So the person who does this is called an entrepreneur. So when I think of entrepreneurs, I don't know why, but the first thing my mind goes to is the gentleman in this picture, Elon Musk. He's the entrepreneur of Tesla. So he came up, he took a risk, he made this electric car company and is forever coming up with more weird cars. And then, of course, he's also in charge of SpaceX, so various rocket ships and things like that, right? He's taking risks, he's getting money, he's buying capital resources, he's using natural resources, he's using human resources to produce something new. All right, now, if you're me, you might have this question. You're like, hold up. So Elon Musk, entrepreneurs, aren't they just doing labor? Isn't it like mental labor? They're thinking of this business, right? They're going out and they're putting this business together. How's that not labor? Well, some economists do actually consider it labor, but we don't want to think about them. Really, what makes entrepreneurship different from labor is that it ties all of those other or all those other factors of production together, right? So Elon Musk is doing mental labor in a way, but more importantly, right, he's going out, he's getting land, he's getting the steel needed to build Tesla cars, right? He's getting the labor, he's hiring the workers to build those Tesla cars and design those Tesla cars. And of course, he's the one purchasing the factory, the one getting the loans to start the business in the first place, right? So he's kind of bringing everything together. All right, let's do some practice. So this teacher here, what's she? How about this? This is iron ore. So fancy rocks. And this is a really tiny picture of Nimbus Dam in Sacramento. And this doctor, what's he? And this MRI machine, what's that? And this is Tim Cook, or as our president calls him, Tim Apple. And this factory here, what's that? And this truck here. Now, let's do some more practice. So what you're going to do is you're going to write down at least 3 factors of production that went into this object. My dad loves this car. This is his dream car. He made me put this in here.